Hello, my name is Terry Thomas. This is my presentation for the midterm undergraduate research project, the PowerPoint YouTube video. For this presentation, I chose option 2, Asian American fandoms and digital spaces, research the role of TikTok, Asian-led podcasts, or internet forums in building community and creating counter-narratives. This is for Asian American studies. On the internet, Asian Americans banded together to fight against prejudice, created a strong identity and refuted false narratives and stereotypes, and discovered a platform that allowed them to express themselves. The first topic is using social media to fight prejudice. My first example is the Stop Asian Hate movement. Prior to the Stop Asian Hate movement, Asian Americans have used other hashtags like hashtag not your sidekick or hashtag me too to stand together and fight racialized narratives that challenge their true identity. These came as a result of adversity, which led to the creation of digital spaces where Asian Americans were able to connect and meet others that are facing similar struggles. The Stop Asian Hate movement gained traction during the height of the hate crimes made against Asians in the United States during COVID, which is around March 2021. Asian American creators on TikTok fought against anti-Asian racism, where they focused on physical hate crimes, Asian fetishization, and racial microaggression. They effectively used the internet to educate others about the reality behind living as an Asian American, challenging the stereotypes and violence that they struggled with. Furthermore, using a hashtag gave the movement its own space on TikTok, creating a community where the oppressed minorities could find like-minded people and relate to their experiences while simultaneously educating the public about the problems that plague Asian Americans. One major digital Asian community is the Subtle Asian Traits group on Facebook, with around 1.9 million members today. Created by a group of Asian Australian teens as a joke in 2018, it was originally used to focus on their experiences with their social identity. Prior to the COVID-19 pandemic, they were a highly active group that focused on humorous posts based on the Asian community. However, this changed when COVID-19 arrived, where the violence and discrimination against East Asian people had become impossible to ignore. The group dynamics shifted to sharing their experiences with discrimination, which had created an invaluable space for Asian individuals around the world. For example, East Asians could find others that share similar experiences, and they could share methods that help when enduring the aggression given to Asians during COVID-19. Through using the digital safe space as a place to vent, bringing issues to light, and solving problems, Asians from around the world could fight prejudice together with a community that faces the same challenges. The second topic, dismantling false narratives. The first example is the model minority myth. One major false narrative given to Asian Americans is the model minority myth. Historically, the narrative stemmed from the belief that all Asian Americans are successful in areas like academics and household income. This narrative affected how others view them as a whole, alongside affecting how Asian Americans view themselves. The main consequences that follow this myth are susceptibility to mental health, unrealistic expectations for themselves, and the public suppression of the challenges that Asian Americans face. One study found that having an increase in collective identity that participated in more activism lessened the individual effects of the model minority myth. This demonstrates how members that involve themselves within digital communities like the Subtle Asian Traits group successfully fought against the false narratives that harmed Asian Americans. The more an individual shared their experiences and built stronger connections with others, the less likely the damaging effects of the myth would impact them. The next example is the forever foreigner stereotype. Another false narrative that affects Asian Americans is the forever foreigner stereotype. The narrative formed from a variety of factors, but the exclusion of Asian immigrants and treating them like outsiders are the main reasons it became so prevalent in American society. Ranging from simple name mispronunciations to blatant racist remarks, Asian Americans face the challenge of being overlooked by society. Using social media to build communities gave Asian Americans an opportunity to be acknowledged by their peers and the public. These communities founded a collective identity that tore down stereotypes and proved that Asian Americans are legitimate American citizens that belong in society. The next topic is obtaining a platform. The first example is creating a digital space. Through the use of podcasts, Asian Americans built their own spaces to tell stories that did not reach mainstream media. One example of this is the Self-Evident podcast, where the host spoke on Asian American experiences that are a better representation in the community. In the podcast, they remind the audience of how Asian American stories are American stories, and that their experiences are not separate from American experiences. While this illustrates one example of an Asian American podcast, there are around 700,000 other podcasts that build their own spaces to express themselves. As shown previously, building these communities is significant when forming an Asian American identity that fights to belong in contemporary American society. And the extensive total of podcasts demonstrates the work that Asian Americans have put in towards that goal. The next example is finding a community that understands. Returning to the idea of community, the concept of having a place where one could have their own voice heard is crucial when forming an identity that refutes discrimination and damaging narratives. Online communities, like the Subtle Asian Traits Facebook group, go beyond simply acknowledging their peers and allow for Asian Americans to speak openly about the struggles that are frowned upon in their culture or in society. To younger individuals, this interaction is influential and helps them overcome obstacles that are predetermined by society. For example, mental health is a topic that is seen as shameful in Asian culture. Having a safe place on the internet is an invaluable resource for Asian Americans, allowing them to engage in conversations that could be difficult to bring up with family or friends. Here are my references. Thank you for watching.